Right, on the 23rd of May 2018, news broke out of Rwanda and the Arsenal team signing a deal. Of course, a deal that would see Rwanda gain a lot of mileage as far as visibility is concerned, being the tourism sponsor of the Arsenal team. Of course, we are here now joined by the Chief Operating Officer of the Rwanda Development Board to just shed some light and make sense out of this deal. We have none other than Emmanuel Hategeka. Thank you so much for accepting to speak to us today. Emmanuel, the first thing that many people are still asking themselves is, how did this happen? This news took so many by surprise. The rest of the world is actually still reacting to this. How did this come to be what it is today?
So thank you, Eugene Anangwe. First of all, we shouldn't really be taken by surprise. And we shouldn't look at this partnership in isolation. We need to look at it as part of Rwanda's marketing plan. So it's part of the bigger picture, so to speak. And maybe I can give you a few examples that preceded this for you to get a sense of where we're coming from. So you remember that Rwanda adopted an open visa policy to the whole world. So every citizen of the world is welcome to visit Rwanda, to come to Rwanda. You will recall that Rwanda has invested heavily in MICE infrastructure.
Yes.
That has actually made us become in the top 3 countries in Africa in terms of hosting and successfully holding international events, conferences, and meetings. You will recall that Rwanda has invested heavily in our national airline, now reaching to 26 destinations, including UK. You will know that we've been investing heavily in our national parks, populating our national parks with the Akagera National Park now hosting the Big Five. You will recall that we've also been investing heavily in our industrial infrastructure, including the Kigali Special Economic Zone. So signing a partnership with a football club like Arsenal, which is that famous, is part of our marketing plan to create more excitement around Rwanda, to create a new, a new narrative around Rwanda, knowing that in the past Rwanda has been perceived badly because of our history.
The history of the country, yes.
So this should be looked at in that broader picture. And you remember we've just concluded the Rwanda Royal Tour, guided by none other than our head of state, to really project the beauty of Rwanda, to encourage people to visit Rwanda, to come as tourists, to come as investors. So the deal with Arsenal is part of that bigger framework. And it's going to go a long way to bring us more visibility, to bring us more visitors,
right,
to bring us more investors.
Right. We'll take some minutes and talk a bit about that part. But the fact that it was Arsenal, I mean, some have been speculating, could it be because the president himself has publicly said that he is actually an Arsenal fan? Or were there any other reasons? Was there debate on why Arsenal and not Manchester United, not Chelsea or any other Premiership League football club?
Well, Eugene, you might, wonder, maybe when you're advertising your product, if you have something to advertise, why don't you choose CNN as opposed to BBC? Why don't you choose this other media as opposed to the other? So Arsenal happens to have come, with the opportunity. We've been negotiating for a while.
So Arsenal came to you?
You can say we met in the middle. We've been also looking for such an opportunity. And we negotiated with Arsenal, and were able to, reach a deal. So nothing about any prior history of our engagement. We have so many fans of Arsenal in this country, in the whole of Africa. So Arsenal enjoys, although it's been suffering a bit in the last few years, but it still enjoys a high level of affinity across Africa.
Right, because you rightly put it on that line that you just ended on. The critics probably of this deal would be saying, but this is a team that most people keep mocking on social media next season, they never do well. Even the president himself made a comment about the performance of the team. How do you tell, or what do you tell such people who feel this way, that why did we go with Arsenal, probably before we move this conversation forward?
Well, to those people, I say that Rwanda has also failed in the past. But Rwanda is not a failure anymore.
Right, powerful. The other part of the why Arsenal is why not Igikundiro, Rayon Sport, any other local club here? Because I've seen also on social media some of them wondering, why not invest in us? Why not invest in our local premiership leagues and football? Why do we take this money out there? What sort of answer would you also be giving these kind of people who have this question?
Well, for our national teams, we already invest in them as part of our national budget. We have a whole ministry in charge of sports and culture, and there is a budget to support our local teams and our sports, and it's not the first time we invest in sports. As you know, the other day we launched the National Cricket Stadium, which is a brand new sport in the country, and we've seen a lot of investment in cycling, which is another active sport. So we invest as part of our national sports development agenda, and this is another level. If you talk of a club like Arsenal, the Arsenal players, the Arsenal matches are watched by 35 million people every day. And this partnership makes us, the first slave partner of Arsenal and the first country to do that. So it's really a whole new level of engagement.
Right. So if we talk about the publicity that this has raised, it has raised both positive and negative publicity. The positive you've definitely talked about, as far as, wow, Rwanda from nowhere, just going for this. We've seen some citizens of other East African countries bashing their tourism boards for sleeping on such an opportunity, and Rwanda going for it. On the other end, The Sun wrote some articles saying that the fans of Arsenal have actually bashed the deal, criticizing the logo, its quality. On the other hand, on social media, we've seen also some Ugandans claiming that this deal was ours. Rwanda ran away with it. I want to read your thoughts on how Rwanda is dealing with this, both positive and negative publicity coming out of this deal.
Well, you criticize what you have. So if there was nothing to criticize, then we wouldn't be talking about it. So we've got a very good partnership with Arsenal. In our view, it's really good value for our money, and it gives us, good rights in terms of marketing rights, but also football development opportunities. So at the end of the day, what really we're looking at is how does this partnership translate into, the results that we want in terms of increased tourism arrivals. Last year we had over 1.2 million visitor arrivals. How does that change? How does this partnership really change the needle? We've had, investments, growing very well. How does this influence more positive investment inflows into the country? But above all, how does this improve the lives of our people through the benefits that come out of this tourism that we are developing? And as you know, tourism is one of our biggest sectors, the top revenue foreign exchange earner. So criticize it because it is there. You have something to talk about. Whether it's good, whether it is bad, I think you leave that judgment to the parties that are in this deal.
This is how you took it. And if we can move on to another item on this particular issue, you speak of tourism in Rwanda, and that brings me to the question of the East African Community collectiveness. Years ago, the East African Community member states agreed that instead of selling ourselves as individual countries, why don't we come together and sell brand East Africa for more revenues? We even went ahead and started the single tourist visa for Kenya, Uganda, Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda. Today we're seeing Visit Rwanda on the Arsenal jersey. Yes. What would have stopped us, or what did stop us from having a Visit East Africa kind of thing? What would have been the dynamics that would have made that either possible or made it impossible for it to happen?
Well, on a lighter note, even Visit Rwanda was big enough to fit on that little pouch. Little pouch, leave alone a longer sentence. But clearly, we're looking at this in a broader context because, as you know, we are party to the East Africa tourist visa.
Yes.
The single East Africa tourist visa.
Yes.
So, if we benefit from this, actually the region benefits as well. Because if a tourist is coming to Rwanda and he comes on the single tourist visa of East Africa, guess what? Maybe his next stop is going to be Nairobi. And so this is the right step we've taken. We do encourage joint marketing of the destination, which we do at various international exhibitions for tourism and other platforms. And the initiative Rwanda has taken out of our own smaller budget, actually will not benefit us alone. We believe it's going to benefit the entire region. I mean, look at it this way. We are interdependent between countries. If we get more tourists coming, then actually we increase the imports we are getting from our neighboring countries because there's more consumption. But we also increase the spillovers because they might visit also these other countries. So we don't look at it as just one country benefit. It's more than that.
Right. So the rest of the region needs to prepare to receive the spillovers that would come out of this visit. Before I let you go, Emmanuel, there's a question I can't fail to ask you. I mean, I've seen it out there, and there's people who also echo the voice of the citizens. Some people who probably would feel that why did we have to spend this much on this kind of an initiative when we still have other key issues? Someone will be asking, is this a priority for us as Rwandans, even as we are growing? What sort of response would you be telling these people?
Well, development is costly. If you really want to develop and develop fast, you better be ready to foot the cost. Somebody might even ask, why did you build a convention center? But then I think the question is not about the cost. The question is about how do we see this benefiting our country? And if you look at the investment we're putting in, the multiplier effect is going to be so big that even the ordinary citizen is going to feel it and benefit from that investment decision. So when you make an investment decision in a development perspective, you're not looking at the short-term, cost. You're looking at the long-term benefit to the economy, to the society, to the total change of the country's image, and to what eventually it means on your balance sheet.
Right. And finally, as you speak of costs, some people feel that this must have cost us an arm and a leg. What was the cost of this deal?
Not really. Maybe just an arm, not an arm and a leg. So it's one of those items you have on your marketing budget. And again, this is part of our tourism marketing plan, part of our Rwanda marketing plan, and we've budgeted for it within our tourism receipts. And it's not such a, a huge amount that can, put aside other initiatives. So all other initiatives continue, and this also is going to give us more results and more revenues in return.
So this is not an amount you can mention?
Well, you will agree with me that, it's not even important to start putting out the figures when they are between parties in an agreement. It may not be that business friendly because Arsenal will be negotiating with others, and we don't want to already go into those figures. But what I can tell you is that this is something that we've been able to contain within our marketing budget.
But Emmanuel, to be honest, the public opinion out here,
yes,
from people who I meet and the different forums I've had people speak, there's a feeling that there's a deliberate move by RDB to keep the cost of this deal top secret. Mm-hmm. Why is this? Is this even true in your opinion?
Well, Anangwe, this is not top secret, because in any case we disclose, all these activities and their costs through our financial statements. And this is done by our company, which is a subsidiary of RDB, called Rwanda Convention Bureau. Now, the reason why we've not been putting out the figures in the media is because this is a negotiation that has happened between us and Arsenal Football Club. Remember, Arsenal is also negotiating with other parties, right? Puma is there, Emirates is just next to us on the same shot, and we are the only sleeve partner. Now, imagine a situation where somebody who is negotiating with Arsenal for other marketing rights could use us as a reference to say, I want what you gave to Rwanda.
At that cost? At
that cost. Whether it was subsidized, whether it was highly negotiated, whether it was a good deal. I mean, so then you put the other party in, in a difficult situation. So within that context, we prefer to keep our agreements, between the two parties as they are, without really having to go beyond. But of course, all the contents of the agreement we are happy to share. We tell you what we are getting for the money we put in, which in our view is really good value for money. We're getting good marketing rights, branding rights, viewership. During the matches we have adverts on the pitch, on the LED screens. We have football development rights. There are coaches coming to coach our youth and women football teams and others. So really, let's not be so worried. I know our public trusts RDB as the custodian and the agency in charge of fast-tracking private sector-led development, and we continue to do it with all the diligence that it deserves.
So clearly speaking, there can't even be a range. 10 million pounds, more or less, 20,000, 20 million. There's no range you can give as of now.
Clearly, as I said, we don't need to go into that. We don't need to give ranges or whatever. What I think our public needs to know is that this is a good deal for the country.
Right.
Both in the short term and in the long term.
Right. That's the most important line.
And it's very important not to put in any difficult position our other negotiating partner.
Right. Fair enough. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Right. This is a good deal, and that is the bottom line coming in from the Rwanda Development Board's Chief Operating Officer, Emmanuel Hategeka. He was speaking to us and shedding more light on the deal between Visit Rwanda and the Arsenal Football Club.